This is Marcus Whitney's audio universe.
Like, you got to do the work. You got to show up and just do the work.
What's up? Happy Tuesday. Another episode of Marcus Whitney Live. And this is going to be a fun one, y'all. So we have, this is absolutely a first for the show. I have someone who captained an athletic team for their country. I'm going to run down his accomplishments because they're just unbelievable. So he was the captain for England in rugby, World Sevens Player of the Year, second in command in sailing around the world. He cycled across America. He's led a team up Kilimanjaro. He's led a team up Everest, and he set 2 world records while he was there, playing the highest ever official rugby match. He's a director at PwC, and he's a motivational speaker, mentor, and consultant. And I just chopped it up with him for 10 minutes, and absolutely fun, awesome guy. Please welcome my guest for today, Ollie Phillips. Ollie, what's good, man?
Mate, life is good. Although in the UK right now it's really bloody hot, but apart from that, we're all good. It's warm.
Hey, what
which is unusual.
So where are you in the north, south of the UK?
Well, I'm currently actually in Wales.
Oh, in Wales. Okay, yeah.
In Cardiff. So
yeah.
I've been a complete English turncoat and gone over the border into Wales at the moment. So. But traditionally, I'm normally in London, so that's where my family and I are based. But we're just up here at the moment.
So I just ran down your accomplishments. Let's please just take 3 to 4 minutes and let's run down your background. Where did you grow up, and where did you get your love for rugby, and talk a little bit about that ascent from one day I wish to like actually being the captain of England in rugby, which is just it's just mind blowing, man.
Yeah, sure. I was born and bred, for those people on the show that know, in south coast of England, a place called Brighton, seaside place. I basically I found my love and started playing rugby when I was 4, but I think it was more through luck than judgment, or actually just through force. I think my parents were basically livid with the fact that I was quite a boisterous kid. They just wanted me out of the house. Who can he sort of go run into? Who can maybe beat him up, teach him a lesson? so let's go make him play rugby. That'll bring him back down to ground. He can let us, some spent up energy and whatever else, and go from there. So that was sort of where it came from. And then, as always with these things, you just play for the love of it as you're a kid, right? You don't, of course, I love watching England play and watching, all these sort of idols when I was a kid. But I guess maybe you do sort of, I definitely hoped and aspired that I could be like that. But I never really sort of truly maybe believed it until I got to sort of 14, 15, 16. And suddenly it started to materialize that life gets a bit more serious. But I played for like England 16s, England under 18s. You start to play in these sort of tournaments and you're like, oh, wow. And then suddenly someone comes across your bow at 18, 19. They're like, oh, we could pay you some money for this. You're like, what? Really? I mean, I'd do it for free, but, yeah, sure. Like, why not? You then realize they don't pay a lot of money. And then from there, just, great things happened. I was just really, really fortunate. Right time, right place, all that sort of stuff. And now I sort of reflect on it, looking at, there was a lot of hard work, of course, and dedication, but a lot of good, good judgment, a bit of luck, and then it also just enjoying the ride along the way, not stressing too much around what could have happened or might not have happened or what I missed out on and all the rest of it.
Can you just share, like, what is the one thing that people who have never competed at that level, right, at the international level, just would never really understand about what it takes to compete at that level? And this could be a mindset thing, or it could be like the way that you're forced to kind of spend your time, like how much of your time gets spent doing something. I'm just, what thing kind of stands out that's like oh wow, it blew your mind when you actually arrived?
Yeah, I think it's more actually probably in hindsight, right? Okay. Now I look back, because I think the level of discipline that was required, I find that, being honest, like I found that very difficult to replicate now. Probably also due to the fact that the sheer passion and enjoyment and pleasure that I took in being part of that network and that group of people and that job, if you like.
Yeah.
But now when I look back at it, you don't have any weekends. Every sort of, if you like, every single, it's not quite as granular as this or as extreme, but every minute of your day is you're living and breathing being a professional athlete. So you're thinking about your sleep management, your nutrition, your water intake, blah blah blah, everything. Like, so everything is centered and focused around this sole focus priority, if you like. And when I've retired, when I finished or whatever, you find it very. It suddenly dawned on me just how dedicated I was, if you like, to that, and then equally how complicated it was to replicate that dedication to the. I mean, you're still dedicated, but to that extreme amount, where it consumes everything, not just your own personal life, but your family's private life, your loved one's private life. Everything becomes about that because the season exists between August and June, and then you get a bit of time off, and then you're back into the circus all over again.
And to talk a little bit also about, and this is a follow-on about the discipline. How much of it, at a certain point when you're young and you're playing and you're just, you're for the love and you've got, you haven't been banged up yet, right? You can just kind of do this stuff.
Yeah.
But
I mean, as you can see, I've got a face that only your mother can love. I mean, that's
you're a good-looking guy, whatever, man.
Yeah.
But as you get older, it's just the natural course of things, that does change a little bit. How much of it is the resources that start to really get poured into you as the stakes get higher? I always sort of wonder, like, where is the point where it no longer just becomes your own passion and discipline, but it's like, okay, now people are sort of coming around you, or at the end of the day, is it still really just you, that has to sort of manage and measure that?
I think there's a lot of, I mean, myself included, right? But lots of professional athletes can be fairly sort of prima donna about these sorts of things. And as the reality of you got to where you got to because of sheer hard work, focus, and whatever else like that, you then start to look for the small, tiny little 1%ers that can maybe make a big difference, which is where all the team come into play in terms of I need my psychology coach, I need my S&C coach, I need my nutritionist, and da 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 da. But reality is, if you sat down and somebody put a gun to your head, you could probably tell them what you need to eat, what you need to drink, how many hours you need to sleep, right? So you kind of know, but it just helps to have somebody there to reinforce. And equally, variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So if every day you were just being, the responsibility just fell on your own shoulders to think up what you're going to eat and how you're going to do it. So I think because you earn okay money, it affords you the opportunity to create that variety, and it keeps you fresh, and it allows you to free up time so you can focus probably more energy into becoming a better professional, if that makes sense. But whatever that cycle is, the long and short of it is that if you haven't got it in there, and then your focus isn't going to be there, like it doesn't, and you might be able to bluff your way through for a few years and convince people you're still there, you're still in, but only you will know, like deep down when it's done. And, and that's the critical part, like how long that fire burns in your stomach. And some of the best professionals, that's probably I appreciate so many amazing sportsmen and women in the world, right? But the ones I think of true greatness, and I think that word is used far too loosely, right? Mm-hmm. But the Roger Federers of this world, or maybe the Tiger Woods of this world, who like it or loathe it, like some of his background or whatever. But the process, the longevity of that process, and equally the hurdles that have had to overcome, and then still perform at that top level despite huge changes in your your career, your playing style, and whatever else. I mean, Roger Federer is 38 now, and still like number 2 tennis player in the world.
It's ridiculous.
That is just phenomenal, right? I mean, incredible. So that is amazing. Not necessarily because of skill, of course, the skill, but just to keep that going. It's just amazing.
One of the things I loved in preparing for our show was just reading through the bullet points of things that you've accomplished, and it did just strike me that there are just some people that are able to set their sights at a certain level of sort of exceptional achievement, and then just are able to sort of do it in multiple areas. And I want to take a second to start talking about your string of world records. You've got 4, and sort of in 3 different sessions. You accumulated the 4. 3 of them are rugby related, but one of them is just thinking about a way to do something that would really sort of make a mark. Can you talk about that one, and then we'll get into the rugby related ones?
Yeah. Sure. Well, so on the note of every athlete's time comes to an end at some point, right? No matter where, no matter how long you can drag it out for, that the D-Day comes at some point where you no longer play, and every athlete in some sort of context struggles with that sort of transition away from it, just that I guess new reality of like, actually my previous identity of being a rugby player in my case, or whatever it might be, is now no longer the case, right? So and that I guess that transition, I just like many other athletes, I also struggle with. I struggle to sort of, I guess, come to terms with my new reality, my new life, and taking that forward. And I found that it was actually quite a lot of taboo to talk about it, particularly as I guess, an alpha male sport of rugby. You don't go talking around how you're struggling and the challenge of change and transition on that. So I worked really, really hard with our sort of players union to lift the lid, if you like, on speaking out about mental health, like around, okay, like it's okay not to be okay kind of thing. And let's, and the campaign was called Lift the Weight. That was the campaign. And I mean, we thought it would do okay, and it just went like out of this world in terms of people that wanted to get involved and players coming forward and sharing their stories and their struggle, which was a huge positive, right? And as a result of that, there's a bank in the UK, Lloyds Bank, that wanted to do something as well for its employees and for its customers and whatever else around, I guess, lifting the lid, lifting the weight on mental health. And so we decided that we would try and create the largest human mouth ever created in history. So everyone would have to be in different clothing. So some people in black t-shirts to outline the lips, somebody else in a pink t-shirt to be the cause, a red one for the tongue, white ones for the teeth, etc. And the whole premise of it was that we wanted to create this huge human mouth to encourage the rest of the world and the rest of the UK to speak out and speak up about their issues and struggles with mental health and whatever else like that. And we had 976 people that were there as part of this mouth. It was brilliant. It was obviously quite fun and amusing at the same time.
Yeah, that's great.
But at the root cause of it was this incredible message that was quite, if you like, inspiring and also sort of quite engaging for a lot of people to relate to around, okay, well, thanks very much for encouraging me to come forward. And I've got this sort of issue. Which was amazing. It's amazing that people can feel comfortable enough now to do that, which was the whole point of it in the first place, and why it's had 3 or 4 different iterations now, and it's just going from strength to strength, which is what it was all about in the first place.
It's easy to forget when culture makes a shift, just how different things used to be. And I would say mental health is one of those areas where, with social media and plenty of people, thanks to people like you, it has become much easier for us in society to talk about it. But it sounds like when you decided to talk about it and to make it an issue and to work with the league and the players groups, that it wasn't so easy. Can you talk a little bit about what drove you to want to go public and sort of tell your story a little bit? Can you share that?
Yeah, I think it's probably relatable to lots of things that are going. People speaking up, now Black Lives Matter and everything. Right. So there's a root cause, that a belief deep inside you of like, why is this taboo? Why is this? Why is the status quo currently like this? Because it shouldn't be, right? It's just because I feel like vulnerable or a bit sort of confused in my life at this present moment in time, doesn't mean that I should feel bad about that. If you like, you know what I mean. So you need to go out and be if you like a new trendsetter to set a new status quo of like, look, actually, this doesn't make you a bad person. This doesn't mean that you're less capable or you're less resilient or less able to deliver. It just means that you're human, right? It just means that you're human going through a process of change. And from my side, I wanted to make sure that people knew that, felt comfortable with that. I had a bit of a public persona, if you like, public brand or whatever. So leverage that for all the right reasons. And same that's going on in the world right now. It's all for a greater good, for a greater cause, for a greater society, community, that people can feel comfortable, in their own skin and with each other, and actually talk and share about either their issues or their lack of understanding, whatever it might be. That's what it's all about. And that's where it started, if you like. And now it's obviously got into a much bigger, a bigger beast, but a good one, a positive one that is driving positive change. And that's really what it was all about to start with.
So let's now move into climbing mountains. We're and not just any old mountains. I've climbed a couple. I climbed Gunung Batur in Bali, which is not that high up.
I've done that. It's good though.
It's a good one.
Great sunset and sunrise.
Amazing sunrise.
Great sunrise.
Wow, amazing sunrise. I didn't see the sunset, but I saw the sunrise. And then I've done Mount St. Helens here.
I haven't done that one. So there you go.
Yeah,
you're one up on me there, Marcus.
Well,
done.
Just that one, but now we're about to talk about some big
interview.
ones.
Interview over. Done. Finished. Ollie, 1-0 to Marcus.
No. You're about to come back, my friend, and make it 2-1. Here we go. Kilimanjaro and Everest. I mean, come on, man. So first of all, why climbing mountains? Why did you? I mean, I think it's an amazing experience. I'm kind of hooked on it. I can't wait to go do my next one. But what was it about climbing mountains for you that?
Well, okay. So I mean, you'll know this, and any other people that are out there. There's this kind of sort of like tranquility and like I can't really explain it unless you've done it, which right. Like this sort of this sense of just freedom and being out on that broad open space where there's this humility that you have at the foot of this huge monster that you're about to sort of try and climb up, and it makes you feel insignificant but part of. So I love that experience on a personal level.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not one of those people, right, that is, I don't know, want to do it all on my own and do it with no shoes on my feet and
okay.
and talk around like this bloke is just that's not my bag at all, right? What I loved about it all was the team element. So everything I've ever done has always been with people, and it was the Kilimanjaro was part of my Optimist Performance business, which was around, okay, look, how can we take people on life-changing experiences, Kilimanjaro being the example, expose them to sort of environments perhaps that they aren't that familiar with, but equally help them recognize that they can overcome it with their own sort of self-discipline, self-drive, and equally the support and help of other people around them, right? So that was Kili. What a beautiful mountain that is. And final day when you leave at midnight to go and do it is an absolute killer. You do sort of 1,200 feet in one go. So amazing experience. And then all of these things that I've done and have always been for charity, right? So it's always had a charitable cause at the root of it. So for me, doing Everest or doing Kili or whatever, we've raised a lot of money for a lot of charities so far. Circa 2.7 million now we've raised.
Wow.
So it's been 2.7 million pounds in 5 years roughly.
Wow. That's great. That's great.
And Everest was all part of a fundraiser for a children's charity that supports disadvantaged disabled kids in the UK called the Wooden Spoon. And again, that was like take 27 people up this mountain to a place that they'd never been before, probably take them well out of their comfort zone, overcoming that, and then do something truly extraordinary, right? Do something extraordinary that, set Guinness World Records. It's never been done before.
Yeah.
But if I'm not like the medals and the awards, certificates, like they're great. Of course, they're awesome. They look brilliant on the wall, but they collect dust, right? The critical part is the sharing of experience and the memory that was created, and that was what makes it special, right? So I could see Marcus Whitney in 5 years, 10 years time, and he'll turn around to me and go, "Do you remember that time when you ruined my podcast?" So, there's a story, right? There's a shared story in the experience, and that's for me what life is about. So all those people that I went up Everest with, or Kilimanjaro with, or sat downstairs and had a cup of tea with in my lounge or whatever, it's that it's that special moment of, do you remember that time? I can, if you ask me to quote my 10 top stories, I never will go to, there was this one time when I was on my own. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
that's not my makeup, right? There's lots of people that are like that, and I don't begrudge them. They're, it's brilliant that they are comfortable in their own company. As you can see, I'm just a very boring individual, so I don't want to ever be on my own, right? So, and for me, it's about that. It's about that creating stories, creating legacies, creating experiences that make life worth living.
So quickly, let's talk about the stories that you created.
Sure.
On your climb of Everest. I love this story.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few, but we basically played. The aim was to create 2 Guinness World Records for the highest games of rugby ever played in history. And in order to qualify for a Guinness World Record, there are certain criteria. So you have to play on a full-size pitch, full-size posts, have a fully qualified referee. You have to play a fully recognised game of rugby, so that's either 7s or 15s. And then to top it all off, you have to have it all videoed. So, that in itself, logistical nightmare. Batteries don't last very long at sort of, -10, -20 or whatever else.
Yeah.
So, anyway, and we were going to take 28 people up this mountain who had never, well, some had, but no one had really ever climbed any mountains before. So you didn't know whether altitude was, how it was going to affect them. So anyway, we were going to play just above advanced base camp, 6,500 meters up, just short of Camp 1 for those people that know Everest. And Everest was the backdrop to the game. It was awesome. I mean, probably the most picturesque pitch.
That sounds amazing.
It was amazing, except for the fact I could not. You can't breathe. It was horrific.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, it was a picturesque setting. We were all not pictures of beauty at all. We were like crawling along, dying, gasping for air. No one wanted the ball because if you had the ball, you had to do something, which was then horrific, right? So but it was amazing, and to play two games, one a mixed touch rugby up there, because we had men and women with us, and then a game of full contact rugby, set 2 Guinness World Records, highest games of rugby ever played in history. That for me, I mean, it can be beaten. I don't think it ever will be beaten. Was just amazing. Like it was an amazing experience, and it wasn't without challenge. We did have some pretty hairy moments there. We did nearly lose one person, like properly lose them.
Wow.
Six people didn't make it up there because of the altitude.
Yeah.
So it's you ask why the mountains. Like, I love that Mother Nature rules the roost. And if it isn't your day, it's not your day, right? And that's
no question.
No question, right? And you've got to, in most scenarios, you just say, I punch on, just get through it. That's the mountains is the one place you just don't punch on. Mm-hmm. You've got to admit it's not your time, and just move back. And I find that like quite awe-inspiring. I mean, I like that there is something that's greater than you that you have to respect.
So you have taken your life's experiences, and I guess maybe a little over 5 years ago, you started Optimist Performance. Can you just share a little bit about what Optimist Performance is? Yeah.
I mean, it sort of started from these experiences sailing around the world, captaining England. People are like, oh, can you just come talk to our staff? Can you just tell us your story a little bit at the beginning? And then it slowly spawned into, actually, I've got a real interest here. There's some transferable skills. There's some transferable learnings from actually how did you manage different people from different walks of life in different circumstances, different scenarios, et cetera, et cetera. And then that grew into like, actually, how do we come and help you evolve your teams, manage your people, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And now we're delivering all around the world on subjects like teamwork, leadership, motivation, managing through change, managing through crisis, which is in a COVID world at this is fairly sort of relevant.
Yeah.
But it all really comes back to actually how do we help you define and clarify your purpose as a individual, as a collective, as an organization, and then make sure that people understand that it's clearly communicated and equally is relatable and has the buy-in of everybody else around them, right? So it's creating family. You can probably hear in the background somewhere my family going nuts because I've got 2 kids that are 2 and 6 months old, and they don't quite understand the principle of podcasts and being quiet, right?
Right. But no, they don't.
But that's about trying to engender that, if you like, love and engagement that you have for your family on a day-to-day basis in everything you do in your life, right? And finding purpose and self-worth in everything. So that's what Optimist is about, and that's what we've sort of gone on to grow now through lots of mediums.
Yeah, and one of those mediums is you've got a podcast, right?
I do. I mean, it's nothing like the Marcus Whitney one, but it's called The Growth Show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, podcasts need blokes with charisma, wit, charm, and some of them just don't have it. So unfortunately, I'm at the lower ends of the dregs of the spectrum, but I've come on today to try and learn. That's what I'm here for.
So tell me a little bit about like why. I mean, it feels like everyone is saying like they need to do a podcast, but you probably have through your journeys and through your experiences access to some people, some people that you're able to have some really interesting conversations. What have you gotten out of doing the growth show? Like for me, the podcast is like it's nice. I mean, I certainly hope it helps my guests, but I get to meet new people, make new friends, learn new things every day by doing it. So I'm like wondering, do you grow as a result of the growth show?
Yeah, I think I do, right? Because I think if you're foolish enough to believe that you know everything, then you're not going to go anywhere fast, right? So, for me, my growth has always come in shared experiences, as I've said, from other people telling me their insights, background, or whatever else. So it's always about every guest I've ever had on has got a different path, a different history, a different life story that they can share with me and with the audience. And so, every time they come on, I sit there and go, like, I'm just sort of awe-inspired as to whatever knowledge that they share. And sometimes I sort of will sit there for an hour and 59 minutes of it is absolute gold, and I'll need to remember it and scribble it down. Other times 59 minutes of it is a total waste of time, but 1 minute is pure gold.
Yeah.
Right? But either way, there's gold, right? And
yeah.
And I love digging for gold, right? And for me, it's that sort of emotional, psychological engagement and just insight into people, right? People by people. That's what I love. I love this world is about engagement, and So for me, that's why probably the reason why I started it, and that's the reason why I sort of carry it on. What about you? I mean, why do you do what you do?
Well, I mean, I think part of it was me trying to find a way to stay optimistic in the middle of this pandemic, where I'm not engaging with people the way I used to, as frequently. I mean, I'm not going to the gym like I used to, all these things. And same. So I'm here, and I think that was basically it. And I just was like, look, there's nothing stopping me. I do mine every day of the week except for the weekends. And, I was like, there's nothing stopping me from just having somebody on, having a 30-minute conversation, every day. And now, I think this is probably episode 52. And it's just been fantastic. I mean, I really just started. I was doing a podcast up in, the start of last year, but this sort of daily half-hour live stream setup, this is just this, during the pandemic, and it's been, amazing.
Also, that for me is, I love hearing those sorts of stories more than my own, if that makes sense. But I do them because it's great to create experiences, and that this is a great use of half an hour for me, or an hour, whatever it ends up being. Okay, so that's why I do it, and that's why I love coming on and meeting people all the time, because I want to go on my deathbed, whenever that is, and be like, what, I've had a great time. What a great time! Met some wicked people.
Amen.
Made some amazing memories, and job done. I always say I'm here for a good time, not for a long time. So,
I hope you're here for both. So before we wrap, man, please, especially if you got a two-year-old and a 6-month-old, I definitely.
Well, I'm doing well to be in here, because I'm pretty sure my wife is doing bath time at the moment at some point in the house, right? So it means I'm avoiding getting absolutely soaked. So I'm loving it being on the
show. So before we wrap, Ollie, just any final words? And we talked about, obviously this is. It's a pandemic, and people are constantly, every single day, you never know like where someone's headspace is, and I feel like people are always looking for a little bit of inspiration, because it's just always a little bit of a downer just every day these days. What would sort of be your final words to anyone looking for?
I'll tell you what, maybe just share like some things that were told to me as a very young professional, right?
That works.
As a 19-year-old professional, when I played my first ever game in professional rugby ever, like not even England, but like for my club team, and my fitness coach, sort of mentor or whatever at that point in time, he put something above my peg that just lasted me forever. He said two things to me. He said, this is quite a mouthful, the first one, but he said, the opportunity of a lifetime only exists within the lifetime of the opportunity. So, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, bit of carpe diem, seize the day kind of thing, but always, don't worry. Kind of at the same time, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a present. That's why they call it a gift. So, focus on now kind of thing, and maximizing this, because who knows what's happening tomorrow, and don't worry about what happened yesterday kind of thing. So that was his first one. And then the other one is he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, look, you've got here as a 19-year-old because we saw talent, right? We saw something in you that made you X factor, if you like. So he said, don't ever forget that. He said, because loads of people come in to this environment with the X factor, then they sit down and they work with their coaches, and their coaches say, look, I mean, you're great at this, right? You're great. We know you're great at this, but you're really bad at these things. And you've only got 24 hours in your day every day. You need to sleep 8 of them, right? So he said, realistically, you've got time is your only commodity you're investing here. So invest your time in everything that you're amazing at, right? Because that's what got you here and what's going to keep you here. And just manage the things that you're weak at, right? Don't let them become a liability. But he said, if you maximize your strengths and manage your weaknesses, you're going to end up like this. If you don't really work on your strengths and just work on what you're rubbish at, you're just going to end up here. And you know what we do to people that are mediocre? We just get rid of them. Right. And I watched it throughout my whole career. I watched all these awesome talent come in, amazing. They'd say, example, they'd be like, wow, you're so fast around the field and you're really mobile and you're aggressive, but you're not quite big enough. You're not quite heavy enough. So they'd spend months and months and months doing weights and eating more food and getting heavier. And suddenly they get heavier and they'd be less mobile and they'd be less aggressive. And then they get sacked at the end of the year and they go, well, what why have I not got a contract renewed? They go, well, you're not quite as mobile as you used to be. And I was like you guys are nuts, right? This is crazy environment. So those are the two things. And if you want to relate that to this scenario, everyone's going to go through a tough time in some shape or form, but the opportunity of their lifetime exists with the opportunity, and make sure you understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and smash those strengths, push those out there, be you, don't worry about being someone else.
That was amazing. That was amazing. I love that. I'm gonna carry that with me for the day, because I think I needed to hear both of those, man. So
there you go. So you only asked for one, so I gave two.
I needed to hear both of those today, man. I appreciate that.
Okay, great.
Everybody out there, if you didn't know Ollie before, you do now, and follow him. He's amazing, super funny. Ollie Phillips 11 on Instagram and on Twitter. OptimistPerformance.com. Go find the Growth Show and subscribe, and man, support this guy. It's fantastic. My book, Create and Orchestrate, in stores. If you haven't already picked it up, do so today. The podcast, Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe, everywhere that you grab podcasts, and you can find me everywhere online at Marcus Whitney. That is it. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Marcus Whitney Live. Until then, let's build a new normal, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe.